Hello, my name is Anne and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to talk about Sorcery of Thorns. This is a book by Margaret Rogerson and I loved this book. It was incredible. This book is about a foundling named Elizabeth who has been raised in one of the great libraries of Ostermere. And these libraries house grimoires, which are sentient books filled with spells and magic and sorcery. Elizabeth has been brought up believing that all sorcery and all sorcerers are evil, because their powers come from demons. Because of an act of sabotage, the worst grimoire of the library is released. And as Elizabeth tries to defeat this grimoire, she is implicated in a crime. So then she turns to the only person who can help her, and who she doesn't trust yet, Nathaniel Thorn, and he is a sorcerer. That is about all I can say about this book. That is non-spoilery. So everyone who has not read this book, go away. Leave. Go away now. Okay. I'm going to put this down because it's messing with this. It's so shiny. What I really liked about this book is that it felt so quirky and the atmosphere was amazing. I really enjoyed how the world was written and how the grimoires were written because they were all sentient and it was just so funny. First of all, I love the main character Elizabeth because she is a little bit weird and she truly fights for what she believes is right, and she's tall. She's so tall that everyone in the novel keeps mentioning, oh my god, she's so tall. And I can identify with that because I am super tall. For reference, this is an IKEA shelf right here, and this is one that has 5 cubbies on top of each other, so you can kind of see how tall I am. Anyway, Elizabeth is just a wonderful character in my opinion. She is strong because she's lived among all these grimoires for so many years that she has absorbed some of their power. She's not magic of any kind, but she's just very strong and resilient. Then we have Nathaniel. And I started reading this book because Ilya of My Bookish Babbles told me to do that, and the first thing she said was that she thought one of the characters was very similar to Will Herondale from The Infernal Devices. And I must say that yes, Nathaniel Thorn is just like Will. He has a tortured soul and he's afraid to love and he's afraid to open himself up to Elizabeth and, well, the rest of the world basically, because he's all on his own except for his demon servant Silas. I will come back to him later. But Nathaniel is so snarky. Whenever Elizabeth says something that he thinks is kind of stupid, he immediately reacts to it in the most sarcastic way ever, and I can really appreciate that. Another thing I really like about Nathaniel is that he is bisexual, and I always like it when there is some LGBTQ plus representation in a book. Then there is Silas. And Silas is Nathaniel's demon servant. In this world, you have to summon a demon and make a deal to trade some of your life away so you can use their magic. Because without a demon servant, you don't have magic. That's it, basically. And Nathaniel makes a deal with Silas, who has been his family's demon servant forever. And the chemistry between Silas and Nathaniel is so precious because you can truly see how much they care about each other, and even though Silas is constantly saying that he does not care and that he's a demon and that he's not capable of loving or at least feeling anything, you can truly read that he does care about Nathaniel very much, and vice versa. So whenever you summon a demon and get their power, you get some sort of a demon mark, and for Nathaniel that's a gray lock of hair. And it immediately made me think of Anna from Frozen, because she has a gray lock of hair. Anyway. Then back to Silas. Silas is a super caring, but sometimes super scary character. He is constantly mentioning to Elizabeth how she should never trust him because he is a demon and he will always do what's best for himself and never what's best for anyone else. Except we learned that that's not true, but, you know. He's such a complicated character, but I appreciate that a lot. Whenever Silas is in the human world, he turns into a cat. And there's this one scene where Elizabeth is in one of the libraries as a new maidservant, or I forgot what her title was, but her supervisor then says, "Hey, is that your cat?" And she looks around and sees that it's Silas, but she cannot betray him because he's in cat form, and then she picks him up and she calls him Sir Fluffington, and this is just hilarious. It is a wonderful scene, and I could only imagine Silas's cat face when he is hating her because she called him that, but it's just so funny. And then we have the villain of this story, and his name is Ashcroft. Well, I disliked him as a person because he was a villain, but his character felt a little flat because his only motivation of doing a bad thing was because it was his birthright, because his ancestor built the libraries to be able to summon a massive demon and to have all the magic in the world, basically. But that is his only reasoning behind what he's doing, so that felt a little flat to me, and he's just a basic villain. And whenever he summons this great big demon, he thinks he's able to control that thing, but yeah, as you can predict, he's not. Conclusion, he felt a little flat. He was a villain, but he was a basic villain. But overall, the plot of this book, it turns out that Ashcroft is sabotaging the 5 libraries that there are to be able to summon this huge demon that will give him the power to basically do anything with his magic. When I read this story, it really felt like an anime world to me because it was very quirky and everything happened really quickly, and that was so much fun. And the reason for that is that this is a standalone YA fantasy novel, so everything has to happen and be completed in just one book. And I think that Margaret Rogerson did this wonderfully. Then lastly, I need to mention the romance in this novel. When you go into it expecting a slow burn romance, it's not really that. But I went into this book expecting nothing. I didn't even know what it was about, only that my friend said that it was amazing. So I went into it blank, and I loved the romance between Elizabeth and Nathaniel. As I said before, I love Nathaniel because he is so much like Will Herondale, whom I am in love with. And the romance between them felt so real because it didn't just start. It wasn't like a meet cute or anything. They didn't see each other and fall in love. This book plays out over a couple of weeks or months, and in this time frame they fall in love. And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. There are some scenes that I really liked. And then on page 343, they finally kiss, and it was a lovely scene. And I will definitely reread this book for the romance alone, but also for the plot because it was just very quirky and funny to me. I must say that I think Silas was my favorite character because he was sort of a bad guy, but at the same time he was very much a sweetie. I know this is very much a trope, but I do not care about that. I enjoyed him. And that's why I gave this book 5 stars on Goodreads, and I would recommend it to everyone. So that was Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. If this video was a bit of a jumble, this is the first time I'm doing this Booktalk thing, but I enjoyed this book so much that I just needed to talk about it. I needed to put what I think about it in the world. And I want to thank you all for watching, and you can subscribe to my channel for more content. And if you like this video, that really does help me and get my videos out there. And I will be back very soon with a new video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye!